Hello, welcome to our live 505, five questions of 505. We're sitting here with Mike Palomba. Hello, Mike.
Hello, hello, hello.
How are you doing? All right. Mike is the owner of 3MP Atlanta. He's been in business for well over a decade. He's done millions of dollars in sales. He's been very successful, opened up multiple locations. He works with billion-dollar companies, and they trust him with their company to get more customers. So he is a good person to know if you want to learn, or a good person to sit with to learn more about business. He's got a variety of different interests. He's also a coach or a manager for wrestling manager.
But pro wrestling manager, correct. Yep.
Which is not everybody has that on their resume.
No.
And it's fun. Hopefully, once we get rid of this COVID crap, that we can go to more wrestling matches again.
Absolutely.
That would be nice. So, full disclosure again, I do know Mike personally. I've known him for years, well over a decade, probably 15 years.
Yeah.
I've had a business relationship for a long time, but we've been personal friends since I burned his suit.
Great.
Took his suit, blue steel. What was the material?
Cheap material.
Well, it burned for a long time. And so I lit his suit on fire, and then we went out and bought some new suits, and he's been looking sharp ever since.
That's it. I learned.
A lot of fun. All right. Well, we got 5 questions here. We're going to learn more about Mike. We're going to learn some of the things that Mike's gone through and overcome. So our 5 questions are: number 1, what would people be surprised to know about you?
People may be surprised to know that I hate to fly in airplanes. Can't stand that. I also am not allowed to sit with the other parents at my children's baseball games. Because apparently some of the things that I say in the heat of battle aren't necessarily acceptable to all of the parents on the team. So I camp out down the left field line or the right field line, typically by myself. My wife has banned me from the bleachers.
So she's the one who banned you, not the other adults.
No, the other adults, I like to think they see it as humorous, but my wife does not. And so she's asked me kindly to remove myself from general admission seating.
Got it. It must be your Italian blood.
It must be.
Bubbles up. It just happened.
I've started to realize why my dad always stood down the right field line at all my games. So,
because your mom made him. Well, as much as you fly, how do you get over the fear of flying?
Well, pre-pandemic, the bars were all open at every gate in the airport. It's a little cold beverage pre-flight, but I've started to listen to books, on the phone, and that tends to mellow me out, and I can usually at least be relaxed before the flight takes off.
You could try mixing both together.
When I mix them both together, I'm asleep before the flight takes off. That works well. That works well for me as well.
Now, I think I get a little bit of the same thing because when I start driving towards the airport, I start getting tired. So I think it's my brain telling me just chill out. It's all fine. Turbulence is okay, and you're going to go to sleep now.
Yes. Yep.
So, at the end of the day, your brain guides you to where you got to go, I guess.
I just keep my eyes on the flight attendants. Like if they're chill, then I'm okay. Like, feel a bump, I'll make eye contact. If they're good, I'm good.
So I was on a friend's private plane once. We were flying down to St. Simons, and we're landing, and the landing gear light didn't come on. So I'm sitting up front, and I'm looking over. The pilot's like gets on his cell phone, calls down to the airport, says, "Hey, is my landing gear down?" We're circling, and I see the people from the airport come out and look up, and they're on the phone like, "No, your landing gear's not down." So sort of like you said, he didn't freak out, so I didn't freak out. So then he said, "Hey, can you lean forward and hand me that book?" Like, okay. So he started reading up on what to do. I'm still not freaking out because he's not freaking out, but he's getting his learn on while we're doing circles around the airport. So I figured out how to hand crank it down, and then the little light comes on. Then he calls down to the airport again, says, "Is my landing gear down?" The guy says yes, and we landed.
You're not helping with my dislike of flying here.
Well, we survived the situation, and we didn't fly back on that plane. So
good. Fool me once, shame on you.
yeah, so, yeah, we upgraded to a King Air, which worked out really well. All right, number 2. What are some of the most difficult hurdles you've had to overcome?
Wow. So I've the biggest hurdles that I've had to overcome, I think, have all been internal at different stages of my growth and development and maturity level, decision making. I heard a wise man from Canada once say that when he was young, he made good decisions about 25% of the time, and with age, it got better to, I think at the time he told me this, it was about 66% maybe. And I think that's been a lot of a lot of my experience has really come from, I think Dean Martin said that experience. Let's see. I don't know. It's something about experience and good decisions and bad decisions. And
no. What is it? Experience comes from bad decisions. And yeah, I know what you're talking. I know the saying you're talking about.
Good decisions come from experience, and experience comes from bad decisions.
Yes.
But yeah, a lot of when I was young in my career, times it was maturity that really screwed me up, and I made bad decisions not because I deliberately wanted to make bad decisions. I think a lot of times I had good intentions. I just wasn't mature enough to realize what the good decision may have been at the time. And that as you grow, you start to make fewer bad decisions less regularly. And I remember when this pandemic hit, I was on a Zoom call with a friend of both of ours, and I said to her, I said, "What in the world makes us qualified to lead people through this?" And she said, "It's all the experience. that's it. And no one really knows what the hell they're doing, but we've experienced a lot, and we know you keep moving forward and try to smile and make the most of it." And so I think that as far as hurdles go, they've all been internal most of the time, self-inflicted. And most of the time I've learned from them and not necessarily made the same bad decisions more than 3 or 4 times.
And that's not bad, because some people never get past that.
Yeah.
Some people will adamantly tell you that they're right, even when it's clear that they are completely screwed up. And I think part of that too is realizing it and getting past yourself, from the perspective of, it's okay, I made a mistake, and I know not to do that now. And that's what we always talk about. Like, if you're going to screw something up, screw it up so bad you're 100% certain that's a terrible thing to do.
There's no question.
It's the best. You don't learn anything when you get it right. You don't realize. Like, my first year in business, I made $175,000 my first year running a business. I didn't know what I was doing was right because I'd never done it wrong. But 3 years later, I made like 20 grand, and I made all kinds of mistakes. So, and I had more experience.
Yeah.
But that's when I really learned what not to do. I really crushed it on don't do it this way at all.
Yeah.
That's part of it. Like, we always think we're the only ones to go through this, that, or the other, and it's just not the case. We all have things we have to learn, and none of us know what they are
till they hit you in the face.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, it's a good way to put it. What is it Mike Tyson says? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yep. I get that T-shirt. I bought the T-shirt.
I think if you punch me in the face, I'd just die. Yeah.
I feel like you've gotten punched in the face at some point, Brad.
I have, but not by Mike Tyson.
No, yes,
like,
correct.
He's fit, monstrous.
Hey, I think that there's a lot of people. I think there's a lot of learning that goes into getting punched in the face. I think there's certain people in the world who've never been punched in the face and need to be punched in the face. And I think it's a sobering experience when you realize that there are repercussions to my actions. I think too many people go through life thinking they can do whatever they want because they've never been physically punched in the face. So any big guys out there, you talk to Oklete, I know that he's qualified to do some face punching. So maybe he can straighten some people out for us.
I'd rather him on my side than get punched by him.
Oh, 100%. Well, you've been punched in the face already, so you're not on the list.
No, I come pre-punched.
Yes.
Cool. Yeah, no, I definitely the internal hurdles. And a lot of people think that, hey, if you'll just tell me exactly what to do, I'll go do it. It doesn't work that way. It's learning how to bob and weave and what should I do and what shouldn't I do and how should I do it and all that kind of stuff.
It's learning how to make decisions, knowing that it might not be the right decision, but I'll be okay with it. Like, think about the past year and a half. No one knew what the right thing to do was, but we knew we had to do something. Can't just sit and watch, which I think too many people are still doing. Like, things have to continue to move forward. How do we do it? I don't know, but we can go off of our experience up to this point and make our best guess and then reevaluate. And if it doesn't work, we change the course. But you can't be paralyzed and not make decisions in life or in business.
Absolutely. No, I know a lot of restaurants suffer during this time, but I also know a friend of mine who's a very successful restaurateur of 40 plus years, and he has a fine dining restaurant in Atlanta, and within 3 days he had a drive-through in his front parking lot, and he was generating revenue and taking care of his employees and making sure that the business continued, and it just took a matter of hours/days, and he was ready. So you got to figure out how to pivot and go.
Yeah.
All right. Question number 3. What's your why for success, and has it changed from when you started? Meaning, what drives you?
Yes. All right. So it 100% has changed. So when I was young, I think that on certain levels, because I had great examples in my life, my father, both my grandfathers, when it came to what a career looked like, I went into my career understanding that a successful career is not going to span days or weeks or months or even years. It's going to span decades, right? My father worked for General Motors for 30 plus years. His father, the same. My other grandfather, law school, lawyer, judge, these are decade spanning careers. And so I think when I started my career, my why was I got to learn, and I've got to get as much experience as possible, and I've got to buckle down for the long haul so I have a nice life, so I can live in a safe house, in a safe neighborhood. And I think in the back of my mind, it was because I always planned on settling down, having a family, a wife and kids and a dog and all of that, right? So I think I was fortunate that when I was young, I had in the back of my mind the fact that someday I'm going to be old, and what old is going to look like has to do with what I do now when I'm young, not necessarily what I'm doing when I'm old. But over time, I think it's just been not necessarily changed, but magnified, because when the wife is in the picture, when the children and the dog are in the picture, I think that on a lot of levels, I always felt like regardless of what happened around me, I was always going to be fine. I could live in a crappy apartment with a mattress on the floor, eating ramen noodles and drinking Natty Light, and I'd be fine. I wouldn't necessarily enjoy it, but I'd survive, right? But when a wife and children and a family and houses and cars and all that stuff gets thrown into the mix, it becomes different, because while I may always be fine, I've got sets of little eyes watching me and mimicking me, and I've got people who rely on me, who I love, and that's ultimately where my why and my goals have evolved to.
Now, I can relate. I know you got a boy and a girl. I got a boy and a girl, and it's funny how you think you're busy, and then you drop in and you still get everything else done, but you do too.
Yeah. Yep.
It's crazy.
Baseball camp at 8:30. Call at 9 o'clock. Meeting at 10 o'clock. Pick up from baseball camp.
Absolutely. Now and I've also coined the phrase: the scariest sound in the world is the pitter patter of little feet running to your bedroom door.
Always there, or when they're playing and it gets quiet for a minute. That silence is scary.
Too quiet. Too quiet is too bad. That's not good news. Doesn't matter how old they are.
Yep.
All right. For outside of business, what makes you happy? What kind of hobbies do you have?
So I'm pretty easy, Brad. I enjoy a nice day with good people, decent music, and a cold beverage. I've started playing old man softball again, which is funny because I'd been retired for 20 years. When I was 20 years old, I blew out my ankle playing old man softball, and I hadn't played since, and started again this season. It was a ton of fun. So the Roosters are running it back for fall softball, so I enjoy that. It gets the competitive spirit flowing through my veins again. And then with the kids, I mean, the kid, I remember when we found out, that my son was coming, and there's a lot of words that ran through my head, like grow up being one of them, like responsibility. And, one of the things that did not go through my head that has really been the case more often than not is the word fun. And there's just a ton of fun, so whether it's, I don't tell Cobb County, but I spray painted a pitching rubber and a home plate on the street in front of my house. So whether it's playing catch in the street, whether it's throwing them into the pool, or watching Space Jam with them, it's fun. And so a cold beverage, a nice day, good music, some good people, followed by a movie with the kids. That's a good day. That's a good day in my eyes.
No, I agree. And it's funny now, my son, we have these deep conversations about guns. He's got a tremendous knowledge of guns and anything vehicular. My God, he knows about vehicles. So it's funny how the conversations evolve over time, but it's great. Like, I saw the movie Cars over 100 times.
Yes. Oh, yes.
It's still going.
Lightning McQueen is one of my favorites.
I mean, he had the shoes, the bag, So years ago, my wife and I produced, Brady, executive produced a movie called Get Loud. So I'm meeting with one of the attorneys, having a discussion, and we started talking, because it was the time of age with my son, started talking about the movie Cars. I'm like, man, it did $500 million, whatever. He starts laughing. He goes, it's not a movie, it's a commercial. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, all it is a 2-hour commercial, 500 million at the box office, $5 billion at that time in stuff.
Toys.
15 now. I mean, my nephew who's 5, he's got cars, everything. He's got all son's cars because he's 15, and he's got all a new set. So they're still selling this stuff from the movie.
But my son still has his Lightning McQueen suitcase that he takes with us when we go anywhere. He's 10 now. So I mentioned Space Jam. And Space Jam is just a long commercial. It's, very entertaining. I enjoyed the movie. It's a long commercial. It's great.
Stop. Let me get a Pepsi.
Yeah. Product placement.
Absolutely. All right. Last question. What are your favorite success habits, and what habits have you left behind?
So you've known me for a long time now, and you didn't tell me, but apparently gradually over, 15 years or so, I packed on about 45 pounds that I didn't realize I had packed on. And so about 2 years ago, I started taking better care of myself, and I started eating better. I started thinking about what I was eating on a daily basis. Drinking less. There was a little time during quarantine where I kind of broke that rule, but eating better, eating healthier, eating more regularly, eating smaller portions, and I lost 45 pounds, and it's wild because it's been over 2 years now. I used to take heartburn medicine. I turned 30, and all of a sudden I had just terrible heartburn. And I remember when I was a kid, my dad was always complaining about his heartburn. So I was like, it must just be what happens to us fiery Italians. And then I lost weight, and I haven't taken heartburn medicine in over 2 years now. So it's not that we get heartburn, we get fat, I guess. So I've left some of my poor eating and sleeping and drinking habits in the past, and I've gotten a little healthier. And I feel a million times better. I think it makes me a better business person, but more importantly, I think it makes me a better father, a better husband, just a better person in general. You feel good when you open your eyes in the morning, and you feel like you can take over the world, and I think Sinatra said that also. He feels bad for people who don't drink, because when they wake up in the morning, that's the best they're going to feel all day. But feeling good when you wake up is actually pretty nice, I've learned.
Absolutely.
So that's a couple of things that I've tweaked here in the last couple of years that I think have made a big difference. Except I had to buy all new clothes, so that's all right.
There you go. So are you a morning person or a night owl?
I'm a night owl. And I've tried to change those habits, but I'm a night person for sure.
There's one thing I would say, because I hear everybody, well, if you don't get up at 5:30 in the morning, you're lazy. But why is it if you stay up later, you're not? Are you lazy then, or less lazy? So to me, I think you've got to find out what works for your motor and fine tune it as best you can, and then run like hell. You should. So many people, I think, ostracize themselves or take judgment from other people because they don't do it exactly the way somebody else does. No two people will, and I don't think no two people should. You do the best you can. You become the best of what you're doing you can be. You become the best at who you are, and you constantly try to improve. It's not about perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, night owls for the win. Yeah, night owls are good. Night owls can kick ass too. It doesn't have to be, if you're not on the run by 5 a.m., you already failed. That's not the case. There's 24 hours in every day. You use them. Do what works for you.
Yeah, that's 100% it. I think it's important to get a decent amount of sleep. Know that, but where that sleep comes in, that's going to depend on you, what you've got going on.
%. Sorry, we lost connection there. All right. Yeah. Well, Mike, I really appreciate your time this week. I hope you have a kick-ass rest of the summer.
Yes, sir. You too.
Continued success in your personal and business life.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. Kick some ass.
You too.